But like when you're working out your first few weeks, do you not notice like that's when you notice a lot of the changes right away and improvements, and that like motivates you? Well, that same thing will happen. You go out and you start putting extreme work ethic in. You start like scheduling out and planning your day. That's another thing. We'll talk about time in a minute, and that's gonna be vital to this. But when you start planning out your day and you go out and you're starting to work hard, you'll notice them 4 or 5 hours you're putting in extra outside of the doors. You'll start seeing that return in the first 2 weeks, and you'll be motivated, right?
I really do kind of want to talk about your principles of leadership and just like how you effectively grow, how do you effectively grow a team like that fast? How do you go get these guys popping?
So one, shout out to the standard. We set the standard, everybody else follows. The thing is like, so you go in your day-to-day as like a leader, and you're like, you have to follow a few core decisions. So the biggest thing that I've found is like, you have to embody the team comes first in every action and every breath. Once you realize that like your ability to succeed for yourself has only so much capacity, right? And I realized once I actually got my managers working together, once I got my team fully working together, it's something that Sean Brinchley taught me. I asked Sean like, what's the biggest advice that you could give me? And he said, get your guys to work together. And I noticed like during like Q1, Q2 of last year, like we were doing good. We have a lot of talent, but like we were bottlenecking at growth. And it wasn't until I really got my guys to start working together that we started seeing like the biggest returns. So remember, team comes first in every aspect and every breath, right? Hard times make hard men, so don't look for the easy way out. There's no shortcuts in this industry, trust me. I tried and it fails. You have to actually be obsessed. Sam, you ever played a sport? Athlete, right? Anytime a guy's like coming into this industry, and let's say it's their like first few weeks, right? And they're like, dude, like what is like the biggest thing I need to focus on to like start leveling up? And I tell the guys like, dude, we're in 2 jobs. We're in sales and we're in personal development. Mm-hmm. And the thing is like getting the right mindset of understanding like, hey, this isn't a job. This is an opportunity. And like the best way to look at it is like, we're athletes, we're playing a sport, we're having to get out there and train, we're gonna have to actually get out there and care about winning. Like you have to actually execute. Cause like, have you ever had a job before door to door? I know it's tough, you're just an OG.
I've never
guess
had
what
a
guys,
job.
I have, and it sucks, but when you have a regular job, it's like, you're only gonna go and do what that job needs you to do, right? Cause let's say you're getting like $30 an hour. Well, you're gonna only ever give like that $30 an hour effort. So if like you clock in for 8 hours, you're gonna be efficient for maybe 4 of them, right? Because you're only ever pushing to like what you need to do. And if you don't ever actually figure out that this industry is a sport and that you're competing and that you're training and you're trying to level up who you are to unlock compounding effort, right? Because the thing is like, let's say hypothetically, Sam did have a job. And let's say hypothetically, like I was your boss, right? Well, Sam can be like the best worker in the world, but if he's at $20 an hour, he can go out and outwork everyone around him. How much are you gonna get paid?
$20 an hour.
And like, it's really hard for guys to understand the mindset. Like if you go home, let's say that you're a candle maker, right? And like you're the best candle maker in the world, and you go home, you study how to make candles and you get so efficient. Does your pay go up? No. And you have to wait for someone to like notice it or look at it, right? I always tell my guys is like, our industry, being door to door, being a commission-based job, like we unlock unlimited potential when we actually invest our time into ourselves, right? And what I mean by that is like, dude, you go out and you train and you work hard and you bust your butt and you put the team first and you really do that, you will start leveling up. And guess what? When you get paid? That following Friday. In our industry, when you level up who you are, your checks follow. So like, it is always very vital for everyone to understand is like, how much effort you spend knocking on them doors to get them customers. You have to have that same energy and that same mindset, like almost like religiously every day, focusing on how you're improving yourself. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah. So how do you start that muscle? I feel like, you said there's a compound on effort, like a compounding effort. But yet the compound effect goes where it's like it doesn't double quickly. You know what I mean? It has a bell.
So here's the best way to work. Like my wife's one telling me like I'm getting the dad bod, right? So like she's roasting me to get back in the gym. Like, have you ever like not worked out in the gym for a while, but you need to get back into it?
Yeah.
You know, like when like you're like, okay, next week I'm gonna go get back into the gym, right? You ever get like nervous thinking about, now I gotta get back into the gym?
Yeah, like I know what that looks like.
So like everyone wants to know, like me guys, I'm a workaholic for sure, hands out, like 16 hours a day, 6 days a week. Ask my guys, it's ridiculous. I love it. But I didn't start that way, right? I didn't start off with that need to work, that need to win, like with that capacity, right? Or that bandwidth to do it. I tell guys is like, when you get that nervous feeling of like needing to go out there and put 12, 14, 15 hours a day, and it's like, you're gonna feel anxiety. It's gonna be uncomfortable. You're gonna feel the pressure of the weights. But like when you're working out your first few weeks, do you not notice like, that's when you notice a lot of the changes right away and improvements, and that like motivates you? Well, that same thing will happen. You go out and you start putting extreme work ethic in. You start like scheduling out and planning your day. That's another thing. We'll talk about time in a minute, and that's gonna be vital to this. But when you start planning out your day and you go out and you're starting to work hard, you'll notice them 4 or 5 hours you're putting in extra outside of the doors. You'll start seeing that return the first 2 weeks, and you'll be motivated, right? So like during the first few weeks of when you're working out or when you're going out and training, you're gonna have to push yourself to do it. But once you do that, you're gonna see the results and you're gonna want to do it. What's gonna happen is, you ever know a guy that's just like ripped and shredded and goes to the gym all the time? You ever hear a guy say like, dude, I need to go to the gym, or I just don't feel right?
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
100%, right? And they're usually studs, right? Well, the same thing with like work ethic and execution and winning. Winning is a habit, and so is losing. I've learned that too. So like what happens is like over time, you start going from the I need to work hard to I want to work hard to like, it is like part of who your like DNA is. Yeah. Like I get up every morning at 5 o'clock, regardless when I go to bed. It's just like, that's my mechanism now. And it didn't start that way. It wasn't easy at first. Like I had to force myself for like a year straight of like getting up at 5 a.m. no matter what. If I stayed up too late with friends or the wife, or if I worked too late, like I had to get up at 5 because that was like my like compass and my center, right? Yeah. But over time with compounding efforts, if you keep pushing yourself, right, you never know, like, dude, Sam, it wasn't that long ago, a couple of years ago, I was in your basement, right? Yeah. And I was coming from very humble beginnings, but like in our industry, you ever hear how the rich get richer? And they always say like, dude, once you have enough money, like you can't really go poor in line, you're smart with it. Mm-hmm. Like guys need to realize that time and money is the exact same thing. So the same way that like you hear about all these millionaires or billionaires, how they invest their money properly in the stock market, and like you ever like, your guys are always telling you like, hey, be smart with your money, right? What I tell my guys is like, be smart with your time. It's, I think at times like we find fluff, we find comfort, we try to soothe ourselves with like watching TV too long or this. Like if you ever find yourself bored, that's due to poor planning. And so I always tell my guys is like, respect your time, like be very, very conscious of it. Like, dude, you know how like reps in the track, how many doors they knock? Mm-hmm. Like you gotta track like how many hours of efficiency you're having in a day. And I think like at times that's like has been a huge changer for me. So.
No, I think that's huge. Like I was with a company a week ago and I was mapping out like how they disseminated leads. Like they kind of have leads all over DFW. And I was like, dude, and I started quizzing the reps. I started being like, okay, how much time do you spend driving in between homes, going to your appointments? And then what percent of no-shows do you have? And then it said like, how inefficient, like you really only talk to 1 or 2 people a week or a day. Yeah. And I'm like, and then
some microtransactions at times, a 20-minute here, a 30-minute there, the this, the that, and it just compounds.
5 like of those a day.
4 or 5 hours in a day, yeah.
And so I was like, cool, you don't get paid to drive. And they were like, oh my gosh. And I go, 4 or 5 hours a day in your car, and I probably tell you how many miles are on your truck. And I was like, you times that by 300 days working, or however many days you work, 200 and something days. And I'm like, now tell me you can't make a ton of money. I was like, what if I just shaved off 2 hours of that, 3 hours of that, and like help
put that back in your pocket?
Put that back, yeah. And I'm like, I don't need to teach you to be better at selling. I don't need to teach you anything, but just stop driving around so much, guys. Like start just going in the same neighborhood and concentrate, and don't chase all these squirrels, and and it's a common thing.
I think like in sales, it's something that helped me is like, if you ask the guys I work with now, they're like, I'm like the over organized spreadsheet guy. But like what's giving me success is like in sales, we're usually very charismatic, high energy, extremely talented people, but organizational skills usually lack.
Yeah.
So like as a leader, if you're like wanting to lead men and you're wanting to level up, like a leader will always provide strength where like his overall common weaknesses with his teams. And so like if you're a sales guy and like you want the fastest way to level up, get extremely organized. Get extremely organized with your routine, with your time, like center yourself. I challenge all my managers and all my regionals that work under me is I plan out my entire month, day by day, Monday through Sunday, in every hour blocker, right? And it's like, does it take a long time? Yeah, dude, I spend 2 hours a month replanning my rest of my month, and then I have to spend like at least 3 hours a week during a section to like map out my entire bi-weekly plan, because I have an in-state routine, then I have an out-of-state routine when I fly out to other markets. And it's like, is it like a tedious job to do? Yes. But what it does, it gives me the freedom to know that I can go out and operate and have the highest return on the most valuable asset I own, and that's my time.
Yeah, huge.